Listen, thank you, Dr. Chu, and I share the what my colleague from North Carolina says. I appreciate a Nobel Prize award coming in front of, especially one in physics. I told you before, I never understood it. I was a physiologist, not a physicist, so I respect that. But that does give us, and I know from personal experience that sometimes scientists like that kind of get a little tunnel vision. To someone with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You talked about breakthroughs, and of course, that should be what I think Department of Energy is all about. I'm going to ask you a question. Would you agree with me that the biggest energy breakthrough in the last 3 years and 1 month has been that the cost of natural gas is 1/2 of what it was when the President took office, yet the price of gasoline is twice as high, so that in fact there is a breakthrough that has led to a hugely important energy source? Would you agree that that really is, to someone looking objective, that's really the largest breakthrough that's occurred in energy in this country?
I would agree that it certainly has been a breakthrough, but it had a long birth period.
Sure, but I mean the halving of a price in one energy source, while another source is doubled now, and we think still going up. And by the way, I thank you. I hope that your bias from before, when you were Secretary and said we should have European-style prices, I hope you had an epiphany, you and the President, and that in fact that's probably not a good thing now. But let's look at what the Department does. The Department's budget next year has 1/5 of 1% of its spending on natural gas. 1/5 of 1%. It is smaller than the increase in solar spending. Would you say that the administration kind of missed the boat on this natural gas phenomena that really some people look at and say is the future and the real breakthrough in American energy?
Well, I agree with you that the ability to capture natural gas from shower rock was wonderful, is wonderful. The Department of Energy funded this from about 1978 to 1992.
And how much in the last 3 years?
Well, right now what we're doing is we are going to the next new thing in gas. We are funding methane hydrates. We've helped, so this is in a collaboration with industry, but we also have helped bring Japan on board because we think methane hydrates might be another form. It's too early to tell. Just as we funded horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing many, many years ago when industry did not think it was viable.
Sure. What's your budget level on methane hydrates?
It's very small, but
okay, so it's even less than 1/5 of 1%.
Yes.
So this huge new energy source, the real breakthrough, the Department is spending 1/5 of 1%. All right. Well, your time is precious. I appreciate that. You can't spend all your time on everything, so I'm going to ask you about this email, this June 2011 email, where a Solyndra employee described what they learned from Bank of America financiers involved in that Prologis loan negotiation. A quote from the email is, on 3 occasions this week, he thought that the deal was dead, but Secretary Chu, so he being the financier, but Secretary Chu personally pulled it off. Chu shared with the team that this deal went to higher levels in the Obama administration to gain approval than any other transaction in the loan guarantee program, and that he personally committed to seeing it through to successful conclusion. Now, is that kind of true? I mean, is what that person says kind of a realistic summary of what went on? And of course, remembering that Prologis at that time was going to contract with Solyndra at a time when Solyndra was renegotiating its whole deal with the government, and in fact got was secondary in turn. That whole and the whole deal. Is that a pretty accurate summary that you were personally involved with this at a level different from other deals?
I strongly supported the Prologis loan application because I thought it was a wonderful way of financing in a measured way, of financing letting warehouses use their rooftop space.
Sure. Was there breakthrough new technology involved?
No.
No, there was no breakthrough. And this was how big a loan guarantee?
Well, it was going out in stages.
Yeah, and what was the total? Was it really over $1 billion?
Pardon?
Was it over $1 billion?
No, it was not $1 billion.
And how? So how
but
much?
It's, I think, $750 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, only $750 million. Okay. So what specific actions did you take with regards to this loan different from the actions you took on other loans? Because again, this is not breakthrough technology. And, I've been a supporter of ARPA-E. I think that's where the department ought to be concentrating. So when things happen with Solyndra, which again, Solyndra is not breakthrough technology. Let's be honest. You know, hydrofracturing is breakthrough technology. Solyndra really was just, you know, a little bit better than what we've had. So what it appears has happened is that your time, which is a basic science, I would think would be saying, look, let's make some really innovative changes in energy. Instead, appears to have been taken up to forward a deal where Solyndra is involved, where, you know, the objective person will look and say, you know, it looks kind of like what you're doing is you're, you know, saving Solyndra from an embarrassment to the administration by, in fact, interjecting yourself into the Prologis negotiation at a different level than you've interjected yourself into any other one. And again, that's what this person says.
That's untrue.
Which part?
Solyndra, the fact that Solyndra had a minor role in that, in fact, I was quite the opposite. I was concerned about, I wanted Prologis. It was not, it was an innovation in a business model, as you know, can really revolutionize things. My concern was that I thought that this was a very, very good business model to put wholesale generation of electricity on warehouse rooftops. My concern actually was to not having anything to do with the future of Solyndra. It was completely different than fact. In fact, I voiced concerns. Shouldn't we be looking for alternatives to Solyndra for the first little bit? And so it was quite the opposite from what might be portrayed.
Did you attempt to stop the negotiation between Prologis and Solyndra?
No, that was between two companies, but what I did raise is my concern that I wanted Prologis to go forward and was concerned if Solyndra could supply those things. But again, the good news is that solar modules are essentially a commodity, and so, and as the prices are going down, and the good news about this again is that the price of solar modules has dropped fourfold in the last 3 years.
But Mr. Secretary, the cost is still far more, because one of the statements, and Mr. Chairman, I'll wrap it up, one of the statements in your testimony is that one goal is to bring down solar energy prices by the end of the decade to be the cheapest source of electricity.
As cheap as any other source of energy.
Correct. Now, Secretary Chu, at $250 a million BTU for natural gas, you really think that solar by the end of this decade, to the point where you are unwilling to invest in natural gas, you still think that's the best investment we can do to keep our energy prices low in this country? You think you can achieve that? At $250 a million cubic foot, and again, since we're going to control it, it's not going to be at the vagaries of an international market to some extent.
Well, if you look at projections made by, for example, the EIA, or projections made by Bloomberg New Energy Finance, they're projecting the price of natural gas generated electricity to be something on the scale of 5.5 to 6 cents a kilowatt hour.
Do you know what their projection is for natural gas last month? Their last projection from 2010 was where natural gas prices.
I know what the Bloomberg New Energy Finance's projection for the cost of electricity from the generation of natural gas. That was first quarter 2012, and that's the number.
I'll let you in on it. A year and a half ago, they projected, this is how good we are at projecting prices, they thought it was going to be $5 a million cubic foot. It's $250.
Right.
The administration at many different levels is just behind the curve on this. But I respect you, and I thank you for being here, and I just hope that you take the view that natural gas is important enough to invest in it. Thank you very much, and thank you. I'm sorry I ran way over, Mr. Chairman, but thank you for your indulgence.